Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Broadband Deployment News. Some major broadband associations are getting together to provide webinars for the BEAD program. Be right back and we'll talk about that. Thanks for joining me. Rick Uzzi here with Broadband Deployment News. So a lot of times, there's different kinds of associations for different kinds of communications providers. There's fiber associations, cable associations, wireless, fixed wireless. So 11 of them are actually getting together, and they're going to be putting together this series of webinars to assist states and service providers and others, I guess communities, whoever might be interested, I guess, in the BEAD program and some of the issues or challenges there. So wanted to talk about that and just show you where that is. So here's the press release. I noticed it's got the Fiber Broadband Association logo over the top. So they may be the folks that organized this. They are really organized. They have been moving ahead. Let me close that stupid thing there. They have been moving ahead, quite significantly since the beginning on all of this infrastructure money, and they always have been. So they're very, very involved. But there's other associations obviously in here that are involved in this. You see here, Broadband Industry Unites to launch State Broadband Office Educational Webinar Series. So it's interesting it mentions state broadband offices because really those are the first people that are involved. So the BEAD program, the money will be granted to the states. It will be granted based on how many unserved locations they have compared to all of the unserved locations in the U.S. and U.S. territories that are going to be getting money. So they'll be the ones that will be getting the money. Those are the ones that are making the plans right now. They're starting to put together their plans. They've got planning. They've been applying for planning funds, which they can get now out of the 5% of the $100 million. They can get $5 million for planning. And then once the broadband maps are done, which would be sometime early next year, end of this year, then there'll be a challenge process. And then, so anyway, they'll start to get money. They'll start to know how much money they're going to get probably at some point next year. Who knows when, right? Because we've got the broadband maps are supposed to be out in November. That's going to be, we know there's going to be issues with that map because service providers are challenging it right now. But what I learned yesterday in a webinar was that those challenges to the broadband fabric, the actual broadband serviceable locations, will probably, it sounds like they're not going to be reflected in the broadband maps in November. So in November, consumers, internet users can start to challenge their addresses. So that'll take place. There'll be those kinds of challenges, and then service providers will be challenging through that process as well, I'm assuming. And then there's the plans, the 5-year plans have to be received from the states, and then eventually states will get money. That's where I was going with this. So the states will get the money. They're the ones that are kind of the largest stakeholders in this to start out with. So it does, the headline here talks about state broadband offices and this being educational for them, but they want to educate everybody here. You see here, today the nation's leading broadband trade associations announced they will deliver a monthly educational webinar series to support the NTIA and state broadband offices with the implementation of Broadband Equity Access and Deployment, or BEAD program, that will provide over $42 billion to state and territory broadband projects. 11 associations are participating in this that represent broadband providers of every size and technology across the U.S. Well, one technology I didn't see. So we've got ACA Connects, that's the American, I think it was the American Cable Association at one point. Now, a lot of these have changed their names as there have been convergence from telephone provider, cable provider, whatever, into everybody kind of more focusing on broadband. So ACA was originally a cable association, kind of a lobbying association for cable operators, a lot of times smaller operators. They are partnered with, in the sense, NCTC, which was less of the lobbying side and more programming and equipment kinds of things. I don't see NCTC on here, but ACA is on here. So that's, again, a lot of their members are smaller cable operators, and maybe these days, maybe small telephone companies. I know NCTC, there's lots of acronyms. NCTC is smaller cable companies, but also they've been working with smaller telephone companies now because they provide, again, programming. So a lot of smaller phone companies are doing IPTV service, and they need the programming from them, those kinds of things. So then we got the Competitive Carriers Association. I believe that's primarily mobile. CTIA, I think, also primary mobile operators. Fiber Broadband Association, of course, association for all that are providing fiber broadband, whatever the kind of operator they tend to be. Obviously, originally started with more telephone companies who were the guys who were rolling out fiber. Encompass, it just says the Internet and Competitive Networks Association. Assuming that's more broad. NRECA, you see by the name National Rural Electric Cooperative Association. So obviously they started out with electric co-ops and really were focused on power. But as more co-ops started providing internet service and broadband, they now, that's one of the services that they offer, broadband program. NRTC, that's also a cooperative of rural telecom associations, tend to be co-op, phone co-ops at NRTC. NCTA, Internet and Television Association, that started out as maybe some of the larger cable companies, but again, it's morphed into, it's a broadband association now. NTCA, the Rural Broadband Association, that started out as rural telephone companies, but again, now it's primarily, I think the name you see now, Rural Broadband Association, but it does tend to have rural telephone companies as their members. US Telecom, the Broadband Association, started out as telephone companies, a lot of larger telephone companies, I think. And the Wireless Infrastructure Association, which again, I believe is more focused on mobile as opposed to, let's say, fixed wireless. So what I didn't see on here, I didn't see NCTC, but I do see ACA. And I didn't see WISPA, the Association for Wireless Internet Service Providers, which tends to be fixed wireless. So it just may be that they didn't, I don't know if they were asked or maybe for whatever reason they're not on here, but I don't think it really matters. You don't need to be a member of this association to be able to attend these webinars. You don't need to be a state. You don't need to be the NTIA. So it's really meant for everybody, I think. You see here the series will educate state broadband leaders, the NTIA, community leaders, and potential BEAD participants on the opportunities, challenges, and mitigation strategies related to the BEAD program and broadband deployment. That starts on September 14th, so coming up here pretty quickly. The 30-minute webinars will be held the second Wednesday of the month at 1 p.m. The initial webinar dates and topics include, and then you see here, starting on September 14th, supply chain, build America, buy America. So these are interesting topics because a lot of people have been focusing on, a lot of the webinars have focused on what is BEAD, and how do you, grants and unserved, underserved, and what all, basically the program. So this is talking about maybe some of the challenges here. So supply chain could be a big issue. It has been a big issue. Now this money is not going to be available for quite some time, so maybe things will be straightened out by then. But then still, you're going to have a lot of people all at once wanting to get fiber in the ground, mostly, or on poles or whatever. But they're going to have to get fiber. They're going to need equipment. They're going to need engineers. That's workforce development. So there's lots of challenges here. And this is good that they're going to be talking about this. And you've got Buy America, which is a challenge because in BEAD it says you need to really focus on buying American products. But if you've already got supply chain issues, and how do you do that? So this Build America, Buy America thing is a challenge. Workforce development is a challenge because again, lots of people are going to be needed to be deploying all of this fiber, from engineers to construction to people that once it's up and running, to be able to do the management of the network, the splicing, the bringing customers up, everything from, tech support for end users, everything, all kinds of workforce issues, or making sure that you've got enough people to be able to build the network and manage the network and provide good services to the subscribers once you've got it built. Affordability, so I'm assuming that's going to maybe cover the affordable connectivity program, which may be out of money by the time BEAD, I don't know that for sure, but by the time BEAD money comes out and people actually get that money and start deploying their network and get the networks up, I did something a week or two back where I was kind of calculating how much or how long the ACP money might last, and it really could last less than 2 years if the FCC and others promote this, which they want people to promote it. If you get a reasonable higher take rate than you have now, if everything stays the same as it is now, it's going to last about 3 years. If they get more people to take it, and maybe factoring in tribal lands where the subsidy is $75 instead of $30, it could last 2 years or less. So that might be brought up as, what do you do about affordability? How long is the ACP going to last? But there's other things with affordability. Should you, what what speed account maybe should you provide, and what should the cost be to try to make something affordable for people that need a good broadband connection. Maybe they don't need symmetrical gig speeds, but they need to be able to participate in the digital economy, and maybe they're lower income. So what can you provide that can make broadband affordable for people? Even if it's not something that you're going to be able to do streaming on TV, 5 TVs, but people again can participate in the digital economy and kind of take advantage of broadband. We need that. What's the price for that? What speed should things be, and how much data? Those kinds of things. A lot of people say no data caps. That's a really bad thing for an ISP to just across the board say there's no data caps, because with the amount of video that people can consume now and other kinds of things, it can really eat up. One customer doing that is not an issue, but if you have a group of customers that are downloading lots of information, watching lots of videos, then it really does boost the cost of the ISP. Permitting rights of way, that's another one. Making sure that as companies are ready to do this, that they can get the rights of way that they need, that they can get pole access, that that's not an undue block in what they're trying to do to get those things taken care of. So again, these are real world kinds of issues that need to be discussed. Cybersecurity is important. You get your internet broadband service up, but then what about DDoS attacks? What about people that are ransom kind of schemes, those phishing, those kinds of things? That's all important stuff, because again, this is a matter of serving the customers, and once your network's up, you need to be able to do that. So these associations have banded together, and these sound like good webinars. Future webinar topics may include Ask Me Anything with all participating associations, best practices in setting up successful grant programs, that's important, maximizing participating from qualified providers. I don't know what that means. I think that's a typo. Maximizing participation, probably. Maximizing participation from qualified providers, and other subjects of high interest to NTIA and state broadband leadership. So again, then there's a list of all of the associations here and what they're about and what they do. So this is a great idea. Again, it looks like Fiber Broadband Association was maybe leading the pack here to try to get this set up, and they got these other associations involved to make sure that they get, this is great, to make sure they get participation from the different kinds of operators out there, not just those that are FBA members, but so these other associations can promote this. It'll be good for the states. It'll be good for NTIA to have these webinars done, because NTIA is trying to do what they can to educate everybody, but this is great that the associations are doing this, because the associations have the real world experience of their members. They hear from their members on what their challenges are, and you can see, I think, from the topics that they're taking that feedback in, and these first 5 webinars are kind of addressed for those. So that's a great thing. So thanks for joining me. If this was helpful, take a like on the video. That would be nice. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Click the little bell to be notified when I'm live. And if you're looking for services, I talked about the fact that once you build your network, you need to be able to provide services over that. We can help with everything, really. So we are helping folks right now with everything from the very beginning, feasibility studies and engineering, construction of networks. So we can help with that. But also, if you've already got a network, or once you have it built, we've kind of built our business on managed services for broadband service subscribers, so or broadband operators and their subscribers. So we can help with activation, provisioning of devices for data, voice, video. We can help with technical support, end user support for all of those things. If you don't want to manage your own call center, we've been doing that since 1995, the dial-up days. We were doing internet support for other internet service providers, diagnostics, both fiber and DOCSIS diagnostics, cybersecurity. We've got DDoS solution. We've got carrier-grade NAT. You're going to need IPv4 addresses. Even if you have an IPv6 network, you still got to reach IPv4 content. You can stop buying IPv4 addresses, which are now like $50, $60 an address, and get a carrier-grade NAT solution in there, so that then you can oversubscribe those addresses, 1 to 64 or higher, so that you don't need to keep buying IPv4 addresses. All kinds of things that we can provide for you. So look us up. You see our web address there. You see the email address and our phone number. So if you have any interest in those things, just let us know. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.